All right, so Western Hills Water District meeting of the Board of Directors, Wednesday, April 14th, 2021. We are reopening the session. It is 5:32 p.m. and there are no reportable actions that are to be reported or taken during closed session. Moving on to point 5, motion approving consent calendar. All matters listed hereunder shall be acted upon by a single vote of the board. There will be no individual discussion of these items unless a member of the board or the public so requests, in which event the matter shall be removed from the consent calendar and considered as a separate agenda item. I make a motion to approve the April 2021 checks and warrants, as well as approval of the minutes for the regular meeting March 10th, 2021, special meeting March 17th, 2021, special meeting March 24th, 2021, the special meeting March 30th, 2021, and the special meeting April 6th, 2021. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 With the exception of the April 6th meetings, I need to abstain as I was not present.
Thank you, Linda. So we had an aye for all of that, except for the one that Linda mentioned. Great. Moving on to the action items. Action item A, we no longer need to consider, so I'm dropping that from the agenda. We're going to move to action item B, 6B, and that is consideration and approval to form an ad hoc committee for the purpose of researching and comparing potential cost savings and feasibility for solar conversion from TID. We want to approve Chris Blessing to be the board director on that. And I believe we have a couple volunteers from the community. Chris, you can explain that a little bit, and then we'll make a motion to approve that.
Certainly, yeah. We have some experts in the community, and we're going to look at the TID usage rates for the last year or maybe further, and basically just compare that to what, if it's even at all possible, what a solar build out or solar substitution for TID electric would be. So that's to be determined. And
awesome.
That's about it.
Excellent. So do we have a motion to approve that? Do we have a second for that?
Yeah, I'll second that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All right. Aye. All right, and then action item 6C, consideration and approval of the draft WHWD will serve letter that was requested on the 24th of last month. Do I have a second to approve that?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Great. All right, aye for that as well. And then moving on to reports, we have a presentation that's going to be given this evening by Director Davis and Director Blessing, and I'd like them to take it from here for the next segment on the Mello-Roos bonds to help the community understand this better.
Okay.
Sure.
Go ahead, Chris.
I'll just go ahead and present, and then I'll let you take it from there, Julie.
Okay.
Okay, how's that look?
Looks good.
Great.
All right. So,
okay.
Stepping right in, there you go.
Okay, thanks. So we just wanted to do a basic overview for people about what the Mello-Roos bonds are for and how they work a little bit, just kind of a short overview of it. So we'll start with the Community Facilities District is a special taxing district formed to fund public infrastructure. The Mello-Roos bonds are essentially issued and it's kind of like a loan to the district that's secured by certain real property within the district to raise funds that will be paid back by property owners who benefit from the infrastructure. So the Western Hills Water District, and we'll get into some of the infrastructure that these particular Mello-Roos bonds were used for within this district. The funds to build the infrastructure and facilities of the Western Hills Water District were paid from these bonds and a portion from the original developer. Generally, a developer may fund the infrastructure upfront and might be reimbursed by the district for authorized use of funds through the sale of bonds. The original amount of the bond within Western Hills Water District was approximately 57 million. It was issued, I believe, in it had four different issues over the course of 2 to 3 years. And as you can see here on the screen, what in particular, the information that we currently have that this money went towards for the facilities: water treatment, transportation line facilities, pump station engineering and construction, aqueduct turnout construction, on-site engineering and construction for sewer, City of Patterson engineering collection system expansion and connections, roadway facilities, utilities, and emergency communications, Section 404 environmental permit mitigation, and streets and utilities that we can see for 313 lots originally. I think some of those lots might have been not moved around, but turned into other lots. So I think the intention was it could have been for more lots originally. I really don't know, because the documentation from that original bond I don't have. So moving on, how are the owners in Diablo Grande impacted by this bond? You do pay the bond through your annual property tax payments or semi-annual payments. They go to Stanislaus County, and Stanislaus County turns around and sends the amount that you pay for that specific parcel back to the water district, and the water district pays the Bank of New York, who in turn submits the money to the bondholders. That repays the principal and interest on the entire bond based on each parcel. How does the bond money flow? I think I just kind of went through that.
You did.
Okay, I think I just kind of lumped them all together.
That's fine.
Okay. What is meant by the Mello-Roos bond refinance is pretty basic. It's kind of like, I guess, theoretically refinancing your house. Only you could take a look at it as everybody lives in one house. It's kind of similar to that, and you're paying for a portion of the house that you live. So the district refinanced the bond in 2014 and 15 into two different issues, even though it's basically within the same Mello-Roos bond, the Community Facilities District. This actually reduced the interest payments on the bond, so like reducing your interest rate. It did not extend the term or increase the principal balance per se so that we would have higher payments to pay back. It actually reduced the interest, and the savings of that was done in kind of a unique way, unlike you would do if you're saving on the mortgage payments of your house. You go to refinance your house, you might save $200 a month, and then over the course of maybe 15 or 30 years, you're saving that money every month. This way it was done where the money was basically saved up front, almost like a payback of the interest for the district to utilize for other capital improvements or infrastructure, things like that. So that's kind of how that worked on the refinance. And that was 2014 and 2015. We have how much is currently owed in Mello-Roos taxes for the district. That number is a little bit hard to say right now without going through a humongous payoff, especially since we have a lot of delinquencies in the district right now. The largest landowners in Western Hills Water District account for the largest delinquencies of the Mello-Roos bond in the district. They're over 3 years delinquent in payments. So the bondholders right now are not receiving essentially the interest that they're owed. The largest landowner stopped paying taxes and Mello-Roos on the majority of their finished lots and parcels in the district as of December 2017. I think that first installment would be the biggest delinquency according to public records. Also, according to public records, the largest holder of title in the district has not paid taxes or Mello-Roos payments on any of the parcels or finished lots that they owned since land transferred last April, May 2020. And these delinquencies have resulted in depletion of the reserve funds for the Mello-Roos bond account that typically would be approximately $4 million because those funds had been used to ghost to make sure that the bondholders get paid back some of their money, at least in that interim. So that is depleted, basically being used to pay those delinquencies. And that also affects some of the residents in a sense, and we're going to show you that on slides 9 and 10. So what happens when they don't pay their Mello-Roos tax? The district is required to pursue foreclosure on the delinquent parcels and lots. And this does state so in the bond agreement. So the water district has a covenanted in the fiscal agreement. This is specifically from that agreement. If the water district determines on the basis of such review that an amount so collected is deficient by more than 5% of the total amount of the special tax levied in the district in a fiscal year, it will within 30 days thereafter institute foreclosure proceedings. I think that Chris will probably post the entire amount of that covenant for the public to see. So the district does have a duty to the bondholders to attempt to collect on any of these delinquencies. The costs to collect for these delinquencies are authorized under the act to be paid from the Mello-Roos bonds. So from the Mello-Roos refinance bond. And however, these costs can be typically sought and recouped through collection and foreclosure process. So once that happens and the foreclosure goes through or collections, that money can be put back into that refinance account and refunded. So the next slide is going to show what I did is I had a resident here who wanted a payoff demand a few years ago on their property because a lot of residents here might have been unaware that they could pay their entire Mello-Roos off early. And so when you kind of would get a payoff demand, it would give you a calculation that would show you, say you're paying $2,400 a year on one of the lots, and you might have 20 years left. Well, instead of paying the $48,000, as you continue to pay, you might get a payoff demand that may have been for say $24,000, $20,000. Just depends on at the time you order the payoff. So this particular one was for a lot that was regularly $2,400 per year. And when you look at the payoff, you go down to the full repayment or prepayment amount for that APN was $18,424. And that on the very bottom, you'll see that the calculation was valid until June 15th, 2018. Well, this particular resident decided not to pay their bond off. So a few days ago, I went back and I got an updated payoff demand for that lot as a sample. And I'm going to show you on the next one. This is 3 years later, approximately the same time, 3 years later. And now you can see the payoff for that same lot is $24,445. So there's kind of a lot that goes into the calculation of this and the reasons that those funds are increased, but we just wanted to kind of show you the bottom line so that you can see how these deficiencies in the district are, have an impact for all of the residents if they decided they were going to pay off their amount. There are some other things that could impact if these deficiencies continue to go for years. It doesn't get any better. I will just say that, and it does have quite the effect, especially if they went on to the date where your scheduled bond is supposed to be paid off. If that happened and there were no, the large landowner, or there were no development, or they weren't paying any of it, and we have substantial delinquencies, it could essentially affect every resident here to have to continue to pay some of this. So like I said, I don't want to get into the weeds too much because it is a little complex when you're trying to run those calculations, but you get the point. So that's kind of what we wanted to let everybody know, and I hope that helps. And if anybody has any questions, I'm certainly happy to take them.
Thank you, Julie. Very good. At the end of the slide deck here, there's a link to a general PDF about Mello-Roos CFDs, and I will add the covenant agreement once we have that.
And before we take questions on this particular slide frame, I just want to reiterate, though, when the homeowners pay their Mello-Roos, that money has been transferred to the Bank of New York and to the bondholders. The only delinquency of the Mello-Roos bonds is from the landowner or owners that have not paid over the last 3 years or so. So I just want to be very clear that all of you homeowners who have paid your bond money and your Mello-Roos bond money to the Stanislaus, your money has gone to the bondholders as appropriate. So I just want to be clear on that.
Very good.
And then we'll take questions. So we can start asking questions, and Julie, you'll field the questions if you'd like.
Okay, yeah, if anybody has any.
Looks like we have one from iPhone.
Okay. Hello.
Go ahead.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Hi there. Why is it so hard for the district to tell how much money is owed on the Mello-Roos bonds?
Well, as you can see, if you take a look at that payoff demand that we put up.
Let me bring it back up.
Yeah. That'll give you an idea. The one thing I can tell you is when they were refinanced in 2014 and 15, the balance on one of the refinance bonds was about 38 million, and the other one was about 7.4 million. So since it did not extend the term of the bond, and our payments are all the same, except for the interest that was saved up front, it didn't change the payments or the term. There's a lot more going towards principal when it is paid, just so, kind of like on your mortgage on your house. Over the years, right up front, you're paying a lot more interest. So it's kind of the same. So because the delinquencies continue, it can change every day on the balances because interest does not stop. And if the principal, say for 3 years, has not been paid down on 60 to 70% of the bond, the interest is continuously charged. We don't get a break on the interest, and then we're paying interest again on that principal, if you see what I'm saying. So it's costing, it's not favorable for everybody.
So we don't have an actual amount that is owed currently.
Well, you can see on the slide here, as of 4/12/2021, there is an amount outstanding.
That's just for one lot.
Right, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that states exactly how much is owed for the entire balance of the Mello-Roos?
For each individual owner, or you're talking across the board on?
No,
there's two different
across the board. Yeah, across the board. I mean, I know what my own is.
Yeah, if you hold on a minute.
Julie, just a point of clarification here on this slide that we're looking at, it says current outstanding bonds, 33,520,000.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that would be because they would be issued in there's two different issues for them, but yeah, that may be the entire amount of both. You're right.
And for this particular lot, it was.
Okay, but hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
But the problem is it might have the outstanding bonds, but it's not going to have all of the interest calculations and delinquencies and penalties, anything like that. So I just want to reiterate, that's what it's not going to include.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
No question is, you know, unanswerable here. If anybody has any questions.
All right, then we're going to move forward to other reports from other officers. I'm going to kick this one off. I want to be really mindful that we've had a lot of new owners lately buy into the community, and they could be on this line. And I'm a person that believes some reiteration is always good for new people. Back on March the 10th, I believe, we had our rate study presented to the community. And I just want to clarify, because I think there's been a lot of chatter in the social media world, as well as some information that may have been given out even by our own office, that is not quite correct. And I want to clarify some things. The rate study is not a proposal. That's very important. What we do rate studies for in the public utility world is to basically let a public utility company know if your rates are where they should be. Should they go up? Should they go down? Whatever. You have every about 5 years, you do a rate study to kind of find out if you're tracking right. So we had a rate study done, and that rate study was presented on the 10th. Because of the Brown Act, we don't discuss those things. So the Brown Act says we can't go and have talks between the directors and everything on what this study is going to be. So we all sat here for the first time and heard as a group and as a community what the rate study came back with. That rate study is a correct study. Those are the real numbers. Because we're running a deficit of over 2 million a year, because our pardon me?
2.5.
Thank you. 2.5 million in deficit because we have a landowner that is not paying their contractual obligations. Because that is happening, that's why that rate study came back with such excessive numbers. That 390 base rate, the 769, I believe it was, per cubic foot. That's why that was so high. Every one of us directors basically got the gut punch at the same time as the community did. And nobody in this board is going to pass a rate hike of that amount. I can assure all of you of that tonight. It's not going to happen. So I want you to know that that was a rate study, not a proposal from the board. And I just want everyone to understand that. I think that's very important to reiterate. So hopefully in May, coming up in the open sessions, we're going to start having some discussion and some dialogue on the rates. And hopefully we'll be able by the end of May to have something to vote on for rates. But I can assure you that it's not going to be anywhere near what those numbers were. But we had to have the rate study done. We needed to know where we were at. And we promised you guys transparency. We needed to be transparent with this community for everyone to understand that the landowners had placed this district in a financial crisis, and that all of you needed to see those numbers. Those are not fake numbers. Those are not made up numbers. This is a third-party organization that came in, looked at our budget, looked at the bills, looked at how much things cost, water costs, all of the different operational expenses, and they are licensed to put these kind of things together. And this is where the district stands. We all know that now. Now it's up to us as directors to come up with something that's going to work for our community that we can all handle and will not break the bank, so to speak, of our own personal bank accounts. So we're working on it, and we should have something for you guys in May regarding that. There's been no discussion since those March meetings where we had them on the 10th, the 17th, the 24th, and I believe the 30th. Those are the only times we've discussed rate study. This board has been working in executive sessions on issues with litigation and things of that nature that are permitted in closed session. We have not discussed rates in any way, shape, or form. So I just want everybody to be clear on that. And at this point, I'd like to hand this over to our attorney, David Hobbs. He's going to explain again for some of the new folks that might be on the call what the difference is between an open session and a closed session, and what is reportable out of a closed session according to the Brown Act. I think that everybody needs to understand this a little bit better. So David, take it from there, please.
Sure. I mean, the Brown Act's pretty straightforward. The business of the board needs to be in open portions of the meeting. It needs to be public. There are exceptions to that rule, and several of the exceptions are litigation exception, anticipated litigation exceptions, and ongoing litigation exceptions. Those are straight from the Brown Act. It's Government Code 54956.9. And to the extent that the board has those, there are reportable items that are required of the Brown Act. Those are simply the initiation of litigation, an appeal of existing litigation, or settlement of an existing litigation. The only of those three that's occurred is the initiation of litigation on the foreclosure lawsuits, and that was complied with. So to the extent there's any question about whether or not Western Hills is in compliance with the Brown Act, I can say that it is.
Excellent. Thank you, David. And so the other thing I want to make a quick statement on is there is been a notification to all of us directors from special districts, officers, and directors. If any of you would like to participate in training down at the county, there's training coming up. I believe it's ethics, Brown Act, actually, compensation, things of that nature. It's a 2-hour program, and it's we've been invited, anybody within special districts and officers and directors. So if anybody from the directors would like to participate in that, please contact the board secretary. There's limited seating, and she can set you up with all that. So that's the only other thing I have to report on. And anybody else have a report? Linda, Chris, Zachariah, Julie, anything you guys want to report on?
Matt, can I just go back real quick and make one comment on my presentation?
No, just kidding. Go ahead.
When I was showing those payoff demands for that particular parcel, what I wanted to say, I think I failed to say, was that once delinquencies are caught up in the district, that payoff demand would go back down to below what the original demand was for 2018. So I didn't want anybody to think that it would stay that way. That can be cleaned up with delinquencies being cleaned up in the district. So that's all I want to say.
By those causing said delinquencies.
What's that?
By those responsible for those delinquencies.
Yeah, once the delinquencies are paid, all the penalties, interest, everything is paid, and people want to pay off their bond, they can get a payoff demand, and it's going to look even better than the 2018 demand.
Nice.
You know, so, okay.
Good point.
Thanks,
Okay.
Julie.
You're welcome.
So anybody else have anything that they would like to report on, director-wise?
Nothing from me.
Sorry, I was out of it a little bit with a death in the family. So I was kind of out of it for a little week. But prior to that, we were working on just tightening things up as far as operations wise. We were looking at our things that we are doing to make sure that we are doing them in the most efficient manner. We're looking at ways to cut expenses, those things of that nature. Nothing substantial to report yet because we're still looking and investigating, but hopefully in the near future we'll be coming up with some resolutions on trying to fix a few things. I don't want to give the impression that there's a lot of stuff going on that's wrong, because that's not it. But just as with any business, you can always find process improvements, and that's what we're looking for.
Awesome. Thanks, Linda. And on that note, just for the community to know too, Linda had a death in her family. Our secretary, Ashley, had a death in her family. You might have noticed the office was closed a little bit, a few days. She had a death. I'm down here in Los Angeles right now. We have a medical, an emergency in our family that could possibly result in a death of a family member. So I'm coming to you from LA. Yet in the midst of all of this, we're still here volunteering and working for the community. And so I would just ask that, again, everybody keep, Linda in your prayers, Ashley in your prayers, our family as well, if you feel like it. But we're all, it's crazy, but this board has all gotten kind of shook in the last 2 weeks with some really medical stuff. So anyway, bear with us as we're trying to do the best we can over these last couple of weeks. It's been rough. And then Zechariah or Mark, anybody want any other reports that need to be made?
I don't personally have anything at this time, no.
All right.
I'm good, Matt. I just like to let the community know that we're all working very hard to figure out where we can, save money with the expenditures of what the water takes the water district to run as a business, and we are making some progress.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. All right. I also want to go back. When we approved the consent calendar, I may have said April checks and warrants when I should have said March checks and warrants. I've been reminded by my wife that I misspoke. So just so everybody's clear, the paperwork says March. I don't know, my brain's in other places, kind of. So if I said April, please forgive me, that was March checks and warrants. And then we're going to move on now to point 8, which is questions submitted to the Western Hills Water District via the customers. I haven't seen any this month, and if some came in, because all of us have been just running around and things have been going on, we'll look again, and if we have any questions, we'll get them next time around. And then number 9, public comments on items not on the agenda. Interested persons in the audience or by teleconference are welcome to introduce any topic within the district's jurisdiction. Matters presented under this agenda items may be discussed, but no action can be taken by the board at this meeting except for the following. We can either briefly respond to statements made or questions raised. We can ask a question for clarification. We can provide a reference to staff or another resource for factual information. We can request staff to report back at a subsequent meeting, or a board member or the board itself may take action to direct staff to place the matter of business on a future agenda. So with that, we will try to answer your questions as best we can this evening, if you have any.
Just go ahead and raise your hand. All right, we have a Gary Rojas. Go ahead, Gary. You're clear.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. First of all, apologize and wishing everybody the best with your loved ones and all the sorrow you guys are going through.
Thank you.
I got a question on the going back to the PowerPoint. Nice job. Thanks for explaining a lot of that stuff. It helps me understand. My question is going back to the refinance back in 2014, 2015. So at that time, no current board member that we have today was on the water district, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. So then by the time on 2017, when all payments were stopped, was anybody on the board then?
Not of the current board, no.
Okay.
I got on the board. I got on the board November of 2019.
Very good. And then going back also, Julie, you mentioned, I think if I'm saying this correctly, the district has the right to enforce foreclosures for those unpaid parcels or lands?
It actually has an obligation to collect. It's actually in the agreement. So we borrowed the money, essentially the district, essentially borrowed the money, and we do have the obligation to collect under that agreement. That's what Chris will be posting. So you'll be able to kind of read through that.
Very good. I'm just so, it's so confusing. The fact that World had control of the board, let this happen, and then now you guys are fighting for our community and picking up the pieces and trying to find solutions. And yes, you guys are taking a lot of heat from everybody. I just want to say I appreciate your guys' hard work, laying out all the information. And the other thing I just want to just end on, has there been any attempts from AC from our last call of any payments or any communication?
No.
Right. Okay. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you so much.
We really appreciate it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Don has a question. Go ahead, Don. You're clear.
Oh, Don, you remembered to ask a question.
That's right. You told me I had to ask a question. First, I want to extend my condolences to Linda and Amber for their loss. And Matt, I hope everything turns out okay in your case.
Thank you.
If I understood Rhonda, when they were on, they indicated all they wanted was the will call letter, and then they would start doing something. Did I hear her correctly?
I think we'd have to go back and check the record for that.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for her, but I can tell you that the will call letter was approved tonight, and it will be mailed out first thing tomorrow morning.
So basically,
and just to be clear to the community, the only will call letter that this board of directors has ever received is dated the 24th of last month, and that is the only request that we have ever received that is a legitimate will call letter request from a title company with all the appropriate information needed. And we have responded. So from the 24th till tonight, we've now responded, and it'll be mailed tomorrow.
And just to make sure that we're using the right terminology, it's a will serve letter.
Good job.
Did I say will call again?
Yeah.
Well, I just want to go to the movies. They need to open up the dang movies so we can get some will call tickets.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you, Don.
I saw another hand flash up, but it went away. So I don't know who else that was, but anybody else? Oh, we got a Jennifer Miller here. All right, Jennifer, go ahead. You're clear.
All right. So that was actually what Don had already asked the question. But I'm glad that you guys approved the will serve letters, because I feel like now at this point, it's now back on AC to really do that development that they said that they have with the county. So.
And as soon as those letters go out tomorrow, we will have Chris post all of that onto the website. So you'll be able to read the will serve letters for yourselves.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And if just let me do a little plug. If you're not subscribed to our Twitter account, please do. That's going to be the best way to get notified. But I'll also post it on Nextdoor. And Don will have it posted on Facebook, I'm sure, because he's very good about that. And thank you, Don. Let me just publicly say thank you, Don, for helping. Very helpful.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. With that said,
we have one more.
We have one.
Oh, no, one more. Sherry Davis.
Sherry, go ahead. You're clear to go.
Well, actually, it's Sherry's lesser half. This is Phil. And
Hello, Phil.
Hi, guys. I don't really have a question. I really wanted to make a statement of support for this board. I want to thank you for your many, many hours of work and the devotion and loyalty that you've shown the community. I support you guys. It's from two levels. It's really, there's an emotional level because at my gut, I absolutely trust my neighbors much more than I trust AC and what they may have planned for this community. The other part is economic. When I recognize that everyone here who is a homeowner has an investment in this community of 5 to 10 times what AC has invested in this community. So I'm going to roll with the guys who have as much to gain and as much to lose as I have. And I believe that you guys are doing everything that you can do to restore this community to being a thriving community, that we have a future here. Gary, I love your background, man. I know that that's probably Augusta, but I want to believe that it's our course right up here. It's the ranch course, right? Something.
Me too.
But, yeah, but the point is simply that we want to move forward with you. We want to move forward and be prosperous. And we recognize that if AC does anything that creates any level of prosperity, it would only be incidental to their main goal. Whatever it is has nothing to do with this community and the benefit of to this community. So I just wanted to say that. I hope you guys don't get discouraged from the negativity. There's a lot more of us out here that support you than those who are opposed.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Phil. Wow.
Thank you.
And we will continue to fight on. I'm proud of our team. Everybody's putting in 100%, maybe even 150%. Maybe Julie's at 200%.
300. Really could be at 300.
Yeah.
We're grateful.
Really appreciate that, Phil.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, that goes a long way. Thank you so much.
It does. We really appreciate it.
It means a lot, actually.
And for those of you that, and for those of you that stop us in the community when we're on our walks or, whatever we're doing, and you wave and you say thank you, that means a lot too. We've been getting a lot of feedback, and it's nice. Thank you.
We all want this community.
I finally got to meet Don in person.
Background.
I got to meet Don. Just a very nice human being. Had a very good conversation with him.
Thank you, Zach.
Absolutely.
All right, we have a CMK here. CMK, you are clear.
Hi, this is Carmen. I just have a quick question. Hi, how are you? So I just have a quick question. The will serve letter that the district is going to issue is just for the custom lot or for more development?
We responded to the request from the title company, and we have presented what they have asked for.
So we wouldn't know exactly if it's just for the 68 lots or for more development?
David, would you like to chime in on that?
No, I mean, as we understand the request, it's for the 68 lots, not for any additional development.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks, Carmen. All right, any other questions? I know I saw another hand raised earlier.
It was iPhone, but
that's why I cannot remember.
They took their hand down. iPhone, do you want to still ask a question? No. Okay.
I think we're good.
All right, so point 9, it's a motion to adjourn, and we will meet back Wednesday, May 12th, 2021. I just want to reiterate this again, folks. We may have executive meetings or special meetings for closed sessions. There's a lot we're trying to talk about and deal with, especially on the litigation front. Anytime we have a closed session, we have to have an open session. Then we do our closed session, and then we come back into open session to adjourn. We may have those in the morning times. We may have those in the afternoon when it fits within our schedule. Understand, we will never, not while I'm the president of this board, will we ever try to ram something through when you, the people, cannot be a part of it. It will never happen. I know in the past, a lot of people couldn't trust the board. We will not do that. If there are important issues that we need to report out or talk to you about, those things will be done in open sessions in the evenings, like 5:30, 6 o'clock. When we have those kind of meetings, please know that's when there's going to be information. If we have to do a special meeting just for an executive session because we got to deal with something or we got to make a decision on something, please understand we have to have those meetings. We have to have an open session with it. But just so you know, so you're not trying to go, oh my God, they're trying to put something through and we're not going to hear it. I'm never going to do that. I will not let this board do that. So I want you to know that. You're free to come to those sessions if you want, of course, but please understand that if you see us having a meeting in the morning, just know that it's litigation stuff. There's probably not going to be a whole lot that you're going to find out about it. It's just we have to make some decisions. We will never do anything. We will never ram something through. We will never do that. That is not how we operate. We're going to be transparent and we're going to do things in the evening when you're home from work and you're able to participate easier. So just know that. So we are adjourning until our next regular meeting, Wednesday, May 12th, 2021, unless we have to do special meetings prior to that. And a motion to adjourn.
I believe the iPhone hand came back up.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. iPhone. We'll let you jump in here really quick before we adjourn.
Yes, hi. I'm sorry about that. In the essence of resolving issues, has there been any resolve from the water district in regards to the billing issues that AC is claiming?
Billing issues?
Who's claiming?
What billing issues?
Well, the billing issues that Angels Crossing has been claiming, which is why they haven't paid their bills.
Just because somebody claims something doesn't make it true.
There's
so there
no hasn't been
issues.
any resolve? Oh, there isn't. Okay, so there's not been a resolve then.
No, there's no billing issue. So, okay.
Okay, that's cute. Okay.
Thank you. All right, motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, everyone.